Another fun Tuesday ahead of us as we prepare for the next couple weeks with 4 charts that are actually showing some very interesting behavior. With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today with some good old TA. And today we're going to start a bit of a new series here if you are so interested. So with that in mind, what this is going to be is we're going to start off with a very quick Bitcoin analysis, and then move into a few altcoins that have been requested in the prior comments of these videos. Let us know in the comment section if you like this, or if you hate this, or if you just hate me. And also, please do, or at least I would humbly request that you actually do like the video as well, if you find it valuable, of course. Anyways, with that said, I should also let you know that I have my own channel. It is in the link in the description below. I do a daily Bitcoin analysis and also a live stream as well. So without further ado, let's get into it right now, starting off with Bitcoin. We're gonna make this very quick, very clean. Okay, there is one major thing to be aware of on Bitcoin today, and I would say at latest Friday, or let me just think about days here. Sorry, make that Thursday. And we do have a potential bear trap setup. Now, when I say potential, I mean potential, meaning that it needs to be validated in order for it to actually confirm and initiate targets up to, well, about 63 to 64,000 bucks. What would be needed in order for this to happen? Bitcoin, we need to pop back up and trade just back above this blue box territory right here, either on a 4-hour closure above 58,500 or a wick higher than 59,500. If one of those two conditions are met, then I would very likely be looking for Bitcoin to trade sideways and up out of there into the mid to low $60,000 territory in the next 7 to 10 days to follow. This is also being based upon the fact that Bitcoin would have potential regular bullish divergence come off the low right here, something that we covered in a prior video from last week on how to define major lows. Again, this is only potential. It is yet to be confirmed, but something to keep an eye out for as it is in the cards right now and is showing some interesting behaviors. Okay, so let's get into fun stuff now. And that red arrow just, going into the targeted region, I guess, anywhere between about 63 to 64 within like the next week or two to follow. Okay, cool. So let's start off with the first one here. We are going to go off of Curve, symbol CRV versus the dollar. This is one that's been baking for quite some time here as it does approach its macro breakout areas and is put in a great technical formation. So I do quite like this chart. And what do we see right here? We do see it is beautifully playing off of the Krown cross strategy that we put out on a video a couple weeks ago. And more importantly right here, we do see a falling channel, which is typically a bullishly resolved formation, in fact, breaking out to the upside right now. So with that in mind, we do have a technical target. The first one would be around the prior highs of this rally and into this consolidation, that being about 5.25 to 530. Not bad. That's more relevant, of course, for the short term. However, there is a bigger setup here for the more long term, and based off of our technical indicators, we do see several things that are rather promising here, I would say, for a greater move. We do see multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence. So again, we see that momentum is waning to the downside as I almost said Bitcoin, but Curve is putting in higher lows. Beautiful, exactly what we want to see. Of course, we also see volatility ticking up here as well, which is perfect alongside a break of this technical formation. Now, with that in mind, there are a couple things to be aware of here. One, and most importantly, an invalidation point. Remember, no trade setup or trade idea is ever complete without an invalidation, and that's really where you can separate a lot of these analyses, or at least where I want to separate these analyses, because people can always talk about amazing moon targets and disgusting doom targets, but until those criteria are met, it's just inactionable, and it's not really something that resembles an actual trading plan, at least in my experience, I should say. You can only talk from experience, of course. So for the long term, after that first target is hit, which could take, a few days upon completion, well, I would be looking for continuation on the whole above 5.25. Bless you, my girlfriend sneezing in the background. And if we see any sort of a daily closure above that region, again 5.25, there is a greater technical target based off of the flag formation here at the 2-spot Fibonacci extension, just around about $6.50. That would probably take another week, maybe a little bit more after completion and validation of that next condition. And then very long term, we're talking maybe months down the road now, I typically don't see major or macro highs being put in at a region like this. typically you're going to see it somewhere right around here. Now, again, this is months down the road. I think that at soonest this would happen in, Q1 2022, if it's going to happen at all. Again, be aware of the validation conditions, but we would be looking somewhere between mid to upper $7 essentially. Right now, for reference, trading at about $4.86. Not bad. Okay, so let's move into the next one. And this one's a very interesting one to me. This is Chain Guardians, I think, or Chain Guardians. All right, Chain Guardians. Hey, look, I'm just going off of the requested comments here. And this one actually looked really, really interesting. And that's actually one of the valuable things, certainly, about having a community like this. Anyways, what do we see right here? Well, we see similar to Curve, for example, it's approaching its macro breakout area. It's never actually really traded above this region right here on a closing basis. And more importantly, we have a good setup from our technical indicators. First and foremost, I wouldn't say first and foremost, but first, we do have hidden bullish divergence, multiple drives right here. Again, bears using more force, but getting less of the way there, as we do have higher lows on price action. And we do see, well, that would be the next and probably most important thing, actually higher lows on price action right here, retesting the range highs, and this is coming alongside expanding volatility, specifically above the 50 percentile region right here. So this move looks like it's just about ready. You can see that on the volume signature here too. Technically speaking, in order to validate this as a major breakout, we would like to see a closure on the daily above 2.25. We would have a technical move off of this. This actually is one of the few cup and handles that I will call out, but this is a cup and handle indeed. And we would have a measured move, a technical target essentially all the way up towards, dare I say, $3. Now, that's probably going to take at least a week to 2 weeks upon validation of the upside condition, and more importantly, invalidation of this as a setup. And this is where things get a little bit more difficult here, because we are so close to the resistance, would be actually below 135, which would be a lot of risk right here. And that's kind of the give and take, or the pros and cons of being a breakout trader versus a supporting resistance trader. Personally speaking, I'm a supporting resistance trader, or in some cases a trend trader as well, but I always trade off of support if I do want to be long, or resistance if I want to be short. And this is why, personally speaking, I do not enter on a region like this. I enter on the 55 right there. Again, for reasons stated in the video that we uploaded about, I think, 2 weeks ago now. Anyways, could we make any greater targets on this one on the whole, or see if there's any points of confluence here? Well, let's pull it up. And what do you know? That measured move would be in confluence with the 1.618 Fibonacci extension. So I would be looking for a pullback from that region, very likely. However, long term, if we start to see closures above this region, and again, now we're speaking, I mean, maybe a couple months down the road in this case, if we see Chain Guardians close above that region on a daily, especially an opening closure, then I would be looking for a generalized move up into the $3.50 to $4 regions up here. Quite nice, actually. Anyways, and did we have something on the weekly here too? Nah, it's a little bit too new, but actually, pretty damn good right there. All right, let's move into the next one. The next one is a very popular one right now. This is Sandbox, and this one went on a phenomenal run. Now, I can't remember if I put out a video of this coin here on this channel, or if it was on my channel, but we did hit our first target. Looks like, and now we're kind of coming into the next major areas where you might be getting a little bit iffy about immediate continuation on this run. I want to get one thing out of the way here. Obviously, this on a long-term time frame, great chart. I'm not calling any macro highs here. I'm not even really calling a high on the daily right now as it is as well. However, I would say that if today does close, especially below $5, I would feel very confident calling a nice medium-term high, and for this asset to come back down well below $4, somewhere around, let's say, well, I wouldn't say well below $4 now that I look at it, probably more around actually $4 to $4.25. And then come back to it after that. We do have, or we would have, confirmed 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence right here. If that were to happen, again, this is an if statement, so this is not confirmed just yet. We may see this as soon as today's closure, and we do see extreme conditions over here on volatility. when I see something like this, the majority of this move has very likely happened. We're probably looking for another consolidation relatively soon before further continuation. Short-term timeframes, what are we looking like right here? Again, a little bit short-term toppy, and we will be having, or no, we will not be having bearish divergence right there, but still short-term very likely does range back down, if I had to call it right now, about $4.50. If we look at momentum oscillators, do they agree with that? Okay, this is where things get a lot more interesting here. If the daily closes below 5 and 22 cents, we will see momentum turn down. And if that happens, well, whoops, wrong chart, right over here, I would look for another move down at minimum to about $4.50, and then would come back to it after that. I would not call a medium-term high until you see a daily closure below $5 specifically. However, at that point, I would be looking for a more prolonged sideways and downside movement. Again, not calling a macro high here, just a consolidation before, likely long-term continuation, because this is still a great chart, to be fair. and hey, let's say that all of those potential conditions that we just laid out do not happen, insinuating that it does have a pullback sooner rather than later. Well, in this case, next targeted regions to the upside, next areas of interest to the upside are going to be about 635 to perhaps as much as 690, which is rather ridiculous right now. Seems a little bit of a guilty pleasure, but hey, the strong get stronger, typically speaking. And if Bitcoin does put in this bear trap, which is looking like it might just do such things, well, that's probably going to help out the case right here. Okay, let's move into the last one. I want to follow up on this one because we've spoken about it in the past. That is Avax. And I believe that we've hit our targets here from way back when. I think I recorded a video on this channel. It must have been about a month, maybe a little bit longer ago. Than a month, and we did hit about 140 right there. Yes, there can be more very long-term targets, but that would be months down the road in this case. Again, I think that I was quite clear with that in the prior video. For right now, and I believe last time we spoke about it was like 60 or 70. Now it's about got up to about 150 almost. Not bad, but we are showing signs of slowdown here. First off, a couple of big wicks to the upside right there. We are finding our first selling pressure. We do see volatility is rather high, certainly can get a little bit higher, so that'd be my biggest counterpoint to what I'm saying. But I do think that there's other more concerning things actually. Momentum on my favorite indicator right here starting to turn down, not a downside signal, however. And we do see that daily RSI is going to very, very likely have bearish divergence here as well. Again, I want to be deliberately clear with this, or as clear as possible. Long term, is there anything bearish about this chart? No, but this thing could consolidate all of December, even back down to $100, and I'd still be long-term bullish on it. Could even go below $100 and I'd be completely fine. So I do think that we are finding a nice local high here, or at least it's rather likely, and I would be looking for a move down somewhere around $1.17 to $1.18 region, and very likely does try for a bounce there. Short-term timeframes are, yep, looking a little bit droopy right there. Again, kind of losing its structure. And I imagine on our momentum oscillators over here, they're also likely further confirming that, yes, daily momentum is breaking this trend line that we had in for, going back to early October, actually, probably the last time that we recorded a video on this one. And we'll be officially turning down today with any sort of a closure below 134.25 by end of day, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And that is standardized for everyone, of course. So there were a few questions on that. Of course, we hit, extremes here on volatility. So this is, what a nice top looks like. And we're already printing some we already have bearish divergence on the 4 hour. Daily is going to have it very likely today. Yeah, very likely going to put some in there as well, but need to see a closure below about $1.20. And at that point, I'd be looking for, the next sideways and downside move. Again, long term, I'm not bearish on this, but I would be looking for a top sooner rather than later. Now, let's say that I'm wrong, or let's say that the conditions for calling this as a short-term and medium-term top are not met. Well, how would you know that it's going to be lining up for further continuation of the upside? We'd want to see a full hour closure, specifically above 139.25. If that were to happen, I would look for the next trending move, although it sounds a little bit crazy right now, but I suppose we've all seen crazier things in cryptocurrency land. But at that point, I would be looking towards the next targeted regions at 160 to 165. I think that's a little bit less likely before a bit of a sideways and downside consolidation here first. However, that is what I'd be looking like on this one. So we've gone through a bunch of different coins today, some looking really, really good, some looking a little more corrective. And of course, keep in mind what Bitcoin is doing. Whatever Bitcoin does is likely going to affect the rest of the market. I hope that this video was in some way helpful to you. Of course, I should also let you know that we have a link in the description below for Bybit. Understand that they do have a deposit bonus, but anytime that an exchange is offering you something like that, it's because they're probably going to make more out of it than you, right? So make sure that you have some experience actually trading, some success, and then perhaps consider taking advantage of it. If you're just looking or learning to trade, I would strongly suggest not doing that. I would strongly suggest trading a paper or testnet account so that you do not have to risk your finances. Okay, I think we got through all of that. I will be signing off now. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.